it's going to move to the point where the financial reporting is going to have just as much importance, well, the other way around. ESG, sustainability reporting, is going to have as much importance as financial reporting. In your end-of-year financial reports, I don't know, shareholders might want to see that information. Prospective buyers and customers might want to see that information. So it's all sitting there and it's all so important. So it's catching up, and as the firms go down, then it's the size of the firms that are required goes down, then it's just going to become more relevant.
My name is Devi and I'm Partner Success Manager at Dynaway. Today we're happy to have with us Nick Rouse, Senior Solution Architect, Dynamics 365 Business Central at FUJIFILM MicroChannel. Hi, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. You are an experienced professional in the retail, health, and IT industries. Is that right?
Yeah, kind of. I guess some people would say that.
And FUJIFILM MicroChannel has been a leading digital transformation project in the APAC since 1995. So close to our age, Nick. We're that young.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, delivering ERP solutions to help businesses improve efficiency. So you are partners with us, with Dynaway, in achieving more reliable asset management. So that's why we're here today. So we're very glad to have you with us. Thank you again, and welcome to Dynaway Dialogues. Would you like to maybe introduce yourself a little bit, aside from my brief introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Steffi said, my name is Nick. I'm from FUJIFILM MicroChannel. I've been at FUJIFILM for almost a year now. We actually got acquired by FUJIFILM last year.
By DXC.
That's right.
Right?
From DXC. We were the DXC Business Central and SMB business unit. And so as part of that acquisition, we came across, which has been a really nice transition. And before that, we were at DXC for quite a few years. DXC actually bought an Australian company called UXC, so it was a very easy change to get used to.
DXC, yeah.
Yeah, so from UXC to DXC. And that was an Australian-owned IT services company where I've worked there for something like 17 years now as a whole, but through multiple acquisitions and mergers, etc. This is where we are now.
In the Dynamics atmosphere or ecosystem for a really long time. So let's say you're counting almost 20 years then. Yeah,
getting there. I started as a grad straight out of uni as a Dynamics AX graduate consultant. So that was straight as soon as I finished uni. I went into that at what was called Eclipse back then, but there's still Eclipse words in our IP and in our different documents still, because it still is all pervasive. But that's where I've come from. It's very interesting, basically all different areas of the business. But now I've fallen into the Business Central space over the last 7 years, and it's definitely a great place to be.
So you're going to stay here, right? So what do you like? Why Business Central? What do you like about working with customers inside of this ERP as a solution architect?
Yeah. First of all, I love being a solution architect on the pre-sales side. That's essentially what I do. I work with our partners like Dynaway and other Microsoft partners, but I also get to work with customers, and I get to work with them at the first contact. So that's what I like about it the most. I love being able to go and visit a customer that's in a smaller system or an older system, something that's legacy on-premise or they've just grown out of. And I love taking them through what something like Dynamics 365 Business Central can do for them, how it can improve their day, how it can just streamline their work. Yeah, there are things that make it more difficult when you move from a small accounting system into a big ERP, but then you can take them through some of the things that really just changes their reporting, the data they get in, the data they get out. So I love taking people through things and then seeing their face or their jaw drop when you show them those game changes.
Yeah, so that ideal scenario, right? The ideal, the dream end goal for them.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yes.
That's fine. And then I can just throw them onto the consultants and they can worry about all the other stuff, right? But
so you just sold them the dream and you're like, bye.
Yeah, I sell the dream. I hand the dream over for someone else to deliver that dream. I'm definitely not in the business of delivering dreams.
How many friends do you have at FUJIFILM? Like how many
Nobody
consultants?
talks to me.
No, but I understand the challenge, right? Like then they're like, who said that we could do this in Business Central? Oh, that was Nick, pre-sales.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
Talking about,
I also love saying no. As much as that's not a sales role, I do love being able to be honest about a product as well,
hmm
because it's not every system does everything for everybody, and so I do like being able to say, look, there is a part of the system that does this, but it's not really the right solution for you.
no,
This is what we think would be a better solution. I do like being able to identify, to be honest, and to be that person where when you come out of it, they'll say something like, "I'm surprised how honest you were about this and this,"
mm,
because then you're bringing that trust across as well. So it's all about building trust on behalf of our company, taking them
exactly,
through the great products, and then because when
exactly.
you build the trust by saying something's not great, when you say that something is great, then there's more behind that, and
Yeah,
so
there's more
I really love that
reliability.
interplay.
Exactly, exactly. Like setting expectations as well is like part of like your job, I guess, right? Saying like, yes, I can, we can build this dream scenario, but this is the expectations that you should have, right? Like
Yeah.
we cannot do everything. And that this is a very nice bridge to discuss Business Central, right? Because let's say 5 years ago, no one was talking about Business Central, not even inside Microsoft themselves. They had a really nice speech in Madrid back in May, I think it was, when I was there in their offices, where they said 5 years ago, no one was looking into it inside Microsoft. And now then the strategy has turned around so much that Business Central, it is a core part of their strategy. And also, I feel that there's this trends in the customers that we see, they're bigger and bigger. So bigger customers using Business Central that was originally intended for the SME segment of the market.
Yeah.
But I see this in between area where they're not enterprise companies, but they're really big. So Business Central can also do a lot. Like, do you have the same experience from your Australian customers?
Yeah, it's really interesting because in Australia, it's a smaller market. Yeah. So we have offices in Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji. And so different sized businesses across those different areas. And when it comes down to it, you say something like SME, small and medium, really sometimes people don't like being called small or medium
Mm,
when they're a big player in Australia. They're a brand that everybody knows about, and so it's we have to qualify that a lot when we talk about it. We have to say it's Microsoft, it's SMB, SME, whatever that might be, but that means SME on a global sense. Think about the customers that Microsoft has,
yeah.
and from an Australia perspective, it's almost everybody is in the SME
Mm,
space, except
true.
the giant ones. So it's always been that little touch point that we need to manage when we're talking to our customers. But yeah, I'd love the European counterparts to talk to Microsoft in Australia and get them talking about BC more, because it's
Mm,
definitely something that probably doesn't happen so much still in Australia. It's
hmm
very much a focus on finance and supply chain management.
And that's funny, right? When the main segment is a SME in Australia, or like that's the size of the companies that live in Australia. So,
Yeah,
so
I thought
Business
we
Center
don't
should be
have
more
them.
focused.
The banks in Australia, there's a lot of government organisations, etc. That definitely finance and operations is the right product,
Hmm
and I feel like we always, with myself and my colleagues, we've always been able to properly identify when it should move to finance and operations or finance and
Yes.
supply chain management when we're looking at an opportunity, because there definitely are reasons. It's not like it's a redundant product in Australia.
No,
There
no.
definitely are reasons to have it, especially multinational, etc. But you're right. Business Central has become more suited for bigger and bigger companies as the years have gone on. I feel like I joined the Business Central team in 2019,
hmm
18 actually, when Business Central was launched. So that's where I've been there for the whole time, and there was definitely a leash on the product. So it was definitely being held down. I think sometimes somewhat. Falsely, like it was being held
Yeah.
down as something that needed to be pushed into that space. And a lot of the marketing from Microsoft was about mum and dad shops and coffee shops and all
Yes.
these small kind of businesses. Whereas now we're in mining companies, we're in
Yes.
huge manufacturing, food manufacturing, process manufacturing, multinational organizations, retail. One of the biggest retailers in Australia, their policy is that all their businesses use Business Central through us, and
Yes.
it's interesting because it does scale and it does work across that. As long as you're not being restricted by the what the product can offer, because there are things that that the other Dynamics 365 can do that Business Central can't. So it's really about what's the right solution.
How are your operations, right? But you're completely right. The customers that I'm coming across, they have like multi-sites across multiple countries, and they're using Business Central. They already have an implementation running, and there's like, right, more, and it can more. So I'm very surprised to see, or pleasantly surprised, right? Like the shift a little bit, that all that it can do, all the features it can as well, and all the. I think like another thing that is important to mention as well, if we compare it with FNSCM, is like how all the ISVs play along with Business Central, right? Because Microsoft, their goal is to be the best ERP system, but you cannot be the best ERP system for every specific, very niche industry, because all of them have very specific requirements. So they will rely on ISV vendors to bridge those gaps, right? Or to put the puzzle piece that is missing. And I think that's also like very interesting. And that's why more and more companies, they say, okay, Business Central is also an attractive offer, because we can leverage more specific functionalities to how we operate with ISVs. And Microsoft is aware of this. So they're very much, let's say, partner-driven in that sense of the partnership.
Yeah, I agree. And I really like how they'll bring out a new feature, but it's not a fully built new feature. It's the baseline. And so they'll bring it out and they'll say, all right, here is the new feature. This is what it's designed for. Now, you as ISVs, you as Microsoft partners, you can now build upon that for your tailored customer solutions, because now you've got that baseline in here. You don't need to worry about that starting point. So it's really great. It goes back to the history of Dynamics Nav, which was a great development platform. And it was something that, we've got customers on Dynamics Nav where you wouldn't even know you were using Nav. It's been customized so much over the years.
So much that is like, what is this? It's not even Nav anymore.
Yeah, exactly, which was probably, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gone down that path. But it was this wonderful development platform. And so that heritage of Dynamics Nav has come through into Business Central, not where we can customize it within an inch of its life, but where we can build these extensions, these add-ons, and bring things in like Dynaway, where it hooks into the system, but it doesn't stop you from staying modern and evergreen on that system.
Exactly. And talking about what you said, very interesting, about like how Microsoft will develop, like, let's say, the base functionality that you can just build on top, the sustainability module, because I think it's very interesting that you, if I might say, I think you're a sustainability expert, and that comes back from your student years. So maybe tell me a little bit about what is your background on it, because it is a very hot topic that we've heard maybe in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, maybe start a bit as a marketing stunt, but now there's new regulations coming, especially next year, where companies must comply with some of it. So maybe give me a bit of background there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I have a little bit of a passion of it because in my Master of Marketing, which is interesting, I did an MBA at Melbourne Business School a few years ago during COVID, and then I went back because I hate myself, right? And I did another one. So I did a Master of Marketing. And in the Master of Marketing, I chose, which it's not even a marketing subject, but one of the subjects I chose was called, what was it called? Managing Sustainability for a Strategic Advantage. And it just was something that I really enjoyed. And I really enjoyed that whole side of sustainability doesn't have to be just because you're a bleeding heart greenie. It doesn't have to be that. Obviously, that's great, because you are helping the environment and you are doing something that potentially will have a positive impact on the environment. But it's also something that you can use to get that advantage over your competitors. If you're in a market where what you're selling potentially is a commodity or is something that's easily selected from multiple vendors, if you're able to show, even if the price is parity, if you're able to show that your you've got less CO2 being emitted as part of that, or your processes have got less wastewater, whatever that might be coming out of it, then maybe that's just that little bit extra that can help you. And that was something that I thought that was really interesting in that area. And so then when Microsoft brought out the sustainability module, I was really excited about it.
When did they come out with it? Was it very recent? I feel like this
2023. From memory, it might have been the year before, so I don't want to get any emails.
No, but I feel like this year or late last year, there were some improvements done. I might
Oh
be
yeah,
wrong, but there's something that has been done lately in order to
yes,
bring that baseline like a little bit further and say, okay,
yeah,
now
that's
probably
right.
to be in regulation also with this ESG legislation that is coming, at least in Europe and Australia. I think Europe and Australia are very tied up together.
Yeah, that's
And it
correct.
makes sense because I think there's a lot of trade more and more recently going between Europe and Australia. So they follow each other parallelly more
Yeah,
than
I
the
mean, we
US.
are behind. Australia is
Mm.
behind, and which is it's good for Australia. So the EU have been very proactive and very good at this corporate sustainability reporting directive and different
Mm.
requirements in the EU. So unfortunately, I can't speak to that as an expert because I only know it from a distance.
Yeah.
However, I do know that Australia are implementing guidelines as well, and
Yes.
as just like in Europe, as the years go on, companies that have different criteria get smaller and smaller will need to start reporting that information.
Hmm.
That's one of the things. That's the regulatory. So it's moved, as you said, from marketing and from look how good we are to actually having that reporting requirement. So that's one thing. And so Business Central brought that out. Originally, it was just a chart of sustainability accounts that you could post into. And then
Yes.
slowly, as we've gone through the years, it's become automated through different reasons, through manufacturing, through warehousing, through all these
Through
different
Dynaway as
through
well.
Dynaway. So all
Yeah.
these different areas where you're now able to do the bare minimum, which is take
Hmm.
those default emission, what do you call it? The default emissions for
Yeah.
different types of processes or different items. But then it's the ability to look at what power are we using, how much power are we using, are we able to save here, are we able to do this here, to be able to understand ways that we could save on the production of our items, save on the different types of supply chain that we're using. Are we buying it from somewhere that's close to us? Are we buying it from somewhere that's in a different continent? There's all of those different things that we can take into account and look at and actually, potentially make savings through that process. So it's really interesting. In Australia, like I said, we're a bit behind. We're probably about 10 years behind, to be honest. But
Hmm.
one of the great things about being 10 years behind is someone else has done the work. Someone
Exactly.
else has done the hard work, and
The
it only
blueprint, so you just need to copy paste it.
they've done the trial and error. What works, what
Hmm.
doesn't work. The good thing about being 10 years behind is it only takes 5 years to catch up. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it means that you've done that learning for us. And so in Australia, even though, to be honest, in our Business Central customers, there's probably only one or two that really need to do any kind of reporting right now. Next year, it'll be more. And then two
Yes.
years later, it'll be more. And so it's a small fish in the Business Central pond right now, but
Hmm.
eventually it's gonna be big. And
It's gonna catch up.
so I
Yes.
want to work with our customers and I want to try and spread the quote unquote gospel of
Yes.
sustainability
Yes.
because the earlier you get started, the less you have to worry about scrambling towards the end. And you won't have to worry about going to a big consulting firm to help you to put that in place when you've already got that base in place to start
Exactly.
preparing it.
Especially with Business Central already, I really like how you turn it around. You say, hey, this is also like a financial tool. It's not just about saying, yes, you are green, you are compliant, but it's also like, look at how much energy you're saving, or just look at how much energy you are using. Maybe you should turn things around a little bit and look at your supply chain, look at the machines that you have, look at the operations that are running on those machines. So I think that's really interesting to see it from that perspective because at least when I hear ESG and being compliant, I'm like, oh God, right? I roll my eyes. I was like, who, this is going to sound horrible in this podcast, but are people really taking this as a serious thing? That's my
Yep.
first question. Because what are the main challenges that companies face today trying to track sustainability? I guess, do they do it? No, not really, right? Because it's not a necessity.
Mm.
But maybe if they knew the reporting side of it, in the sense of seeing the numbers and see this is how much energy you're spending, then suddenly it becomes a different conversation. Then it's like, yes, I want to save money there, right?
Yeah. Save money and make money. Like I was saying before, if you're in a field of suppliers and everybody's
Yeah,
the same price, that could just be
yeah,
that one thing that gets you the contract over a different supplier. And in
exactly.
Australia, even, uh, I don't know if I don't know what's going on in the world right now, but it seems to be like there'll probably be a bit more trade with Europe than there will with other North Atlantic.
Northern,
Yeah,
yes.
but as some trade focus potentially would move towards Europe away from the United States, there's also that requirement for some companies in the EU to record their Scope 3 emissions. And Scope 3 is their suppliers, it's their customers. What kind of emissions are happening down that supply chain? They could just record the defaults, but they might. If you've got a big company in Europe buying things from Australia, buying parts from Australia, they might say, we need to know the associated emissions with these parts that we're purchasing so that we can record that into our reporting. So there's also that requirement. If you've got something coming from a supplier saying, we'll go with you, but you need to give us this information, then that's going to be something you'll need to do. BC can do that for you.
Very interesting how it's like a domino effect as well, because obviously if you buy something from a supplier for your product, that also impacts how much energy you're using. It's not just yourself as a manufacturing, let's say, or producing something. So it touches every aspect of who you're talking and buying from and so on. So what are the most common KPIs that you could have in this sense in Business Central? So let's say I'm a manufacturing company, I want to start tracking my footprint. What can I use? Like, what is the most relevant one?
Well, I mean, in there, that it's anything, right? You think about the power that you use, and it's funny in the demo data. There's like coal-fired power, there's nuclear power, there's wind and solar, and all of those have different associated emissions per kilowatt hour of power. So even those kind of things, there might be a cost difference across the board, but then you look at that cost and the trade-off as to how that could impact the emissions that are coming out of it. That's something that's a really easy look at and a really easy win. And it depends on which country you're in as well, because obviously power is a big thing at the moment.
Yes.
Especially I believe in Europe, it would probably be even more important after events that have happened over the last few years. So it really changes that concept, doesn't it? And you hear about having to transition between different types of power and how those emissions work. But yeah, so it's the transport, it's how you heat your factory, how you
that's crazy.
You transport your goods. It's all of those kind of things that you can look at to understand how that has an impact on, I want to say the environment, but it's also the bottom line, and it's also your
on your bottom line, that is the economy. Because I have a question, it's like, how would you convince the CFOs or operations managers that sustainability is not like a nice to have, but a need to have? But then we go back to, you can save money and you can be smarter about how you're spending your money in that sense. Yes.
Yeah, and you can look at directives from the big consulting firms, the accounting firms that are going into companies and saying, these are your requirements, statutory requirements around financial. It's going to move to the point where the financial reporting is going to have just as much importance, well, the other way around. ESG, sustainability reporting, is going to have as much importance as financial reporting. In your end-of-year financial reports, I don't know, shareholders might want to see that information. Prospective buyers and customers might want to see that information. So it's all sitting there and it's all so important. So it's catching up, and as the firms go down, then it's the size of the firms that are required goes down, then it's just going to become more relevant. So it's just a requirement, essentially.
So if you could give one piece of advice, and I think you kind of already mentioned it, to companies that say, okay, I want to start my sustainability journey in Business Central, what would it be? Would it be start now? Don't wait and scramble.
That's right. It's definitely start now. It's start now, but you don't have to go full into it. You can dip a toe, right? You can have a look at what's available to you. Spin up a sandbox environment with the Cronus company and put the Cronus coffee, whatever it's called, the demo database app where you can go and chuck in the sustainability and have a look at it. Have a look at the structure of the sustainability chart of accounts. Get online, and if you're a partner especially, watch the Release Wave webinars from the last few years where they really cover off why this module is here. Microsoft don't release new features like this that often. Right?
No,
this is a fully fledged, almost totally new module. And when's the last time there was a new module inside Business Central? Especially one that Microsoft built. They license or purchase different functionality for different areas, but there must be some kind of reason that Microsoft has seen that and identified the reason for a whole new part of the system.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good point, actually, that I didn't even think about that it's not that often that they release new modules, and we're here with one because, again, they also need to stay relevant to let's say, what the regulations will be. So if they don't have this, then they cannot be an ERP.
Well, and then what's happening is you're losing you're losing these opportunities to other software that does it.
Yeah.
So do you want them to stay in the ecosystem, or do you want them to go out and purchase something else that does that?
Exactly.
And because, I mean, in Business Central, you do have the sustainability module, and that was built because SMBs or SMEs or whatever you want to call them, that's in their space. There's also the Microsoft Sustainability Manager, and that's a whole other thing that I know exists, but I don't know anything about because it's a bit too big for a lot of our customers here. But, you know, they've invested in that tool as well. It's a really amazing tool. I've seen it demonstrated. I've seen it discussed. And I also saw it and said, well, that's a bit big. I was very glad that Microsoft brought out a more SMB focused product.
So in 5 years, sustainability reporting, you see this already, Australian market fully implemented, because it is in the next 3 years, I think, where now all companies will have to have some kind of reporting, you know, more or less, but they will need to do some reporting. So in 5 years, you will see this as a main block, let's say, that all companies need to have a firm fundament, and they need to be having this data coming out of their operations.
I see it. I mean, who knows what the future holds, but I do see it as something that that all of our consultants will need to know how to implement. At the moment, it's early days. Yes. If we get a customer who asks about it, they'll call me and we'll go through it. We'll talk about the system and we'll look at what features are available. And that's where we are. It's very early days, but it'll just take one implementation. We've got some customers who have implemented it themselves because that's something that's very important to the way their business operates. And, you know, we've got a customer that's a hotel chain. They've gone and implemented the wastewater tracking as part of that because that's something that's really important to the way that they operate their hotels and their facilities. So, and it's easy to implement. Yeah. So it's not exactly a whole new module that you need to learn.
No.
Yeah, it's not like learning Dynaway. You don't actually have to go and, you know, do a lot of work to work it out because it's not that comprehensive and complex of a tool.
What do you mean? Dynaway and asset management is straightforward.
Well, you can't just switch it on. No, Dynaway.
But then you wouldn't have a job, Nick, if we don't have to do implementations.
That's right. Yeah, no, I mean, this is the thing. And that's what I love about Dynaway being able to bring that in as well, because maintenance is something where that's also important. You've got trucks. You've got, you know, you potentially are using a lot of different devices and machinery, repairing different types of machinery, driving out to a mine site that's 3 hours away. All of those things that are very important to that emissions, and so those are the kind of things we want to track as well.
Yes, exactly. I think like what Dynaway can is basically just track the CO2 emissions and let's say calculate what is the environmental impact of those CO2 emissions, right? And it's what you say, like in terms of like turning the data around and say, okay, well, this is how much it is costing me in a way. What can I do? And it is kind of like so nice to have it like in one click. You don't have to do anything really. It is the data model behind like everything with Business Central. It is built out, so it's just so easy to just, here you go, here you have it. And then that's wonderful. And there's also leveraging as well other things like IoT devices, counters, because all of that helps have an accurate picture of the CO2 emissions. So that's wonderful to have like the technology and let's say the numbers working together to have a good picture of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see, then you'll be able to see outliers. It might be things that from a cost perspective, from a revenue perspective, they just look like everything else in a chart or in a visualization. But then when you see the ESG alongside of that, you might see different things that can call your eye to it. Maybe there's issues with the way that you're processing things or the way that it's taking. So it really gives you an extra insight.
Yeah. I have a question as well. Now we're touching a little bit more into asset management, and it is because I work with a lot of customers where maintenance and operations are vital, but there's this lacking sense of urgency when we come to an asset management system, because Business Central, again, SME, so there's a lot of companies that maybe feel they're not big enough to justify using a system. And they've been using Excel, which has been working fine for the last 20 years. So that sense of urgency is a little bit lost. So I would like to hear your take on it, and what is the real impact of continuing with Excel, right, and then not ESG reporting, or going to technologically driven maintenance operation?
Well, I mean, in a specific to ESG, if you set it up the way you want it to, then you don't need to worry about writing that Excel anymore because it's just doing it for you. You can click a button and it'll output it for you. But from a wider EAM perspective, we actually had a call with a prospective customer 2 weeks ago, and they came to us saying we want Dynaway with Business Central because they've looked it up. What's the best maintenance system that goes with Business Central, and that's what they came up with. So props to you guys for, I guess, having a good SEO.
Thank you.
But it's true. I said to him that no, you made the right call. It is the sort of premier one for that. And one of their drivers behind that being a phase 1 requirement was their insurance. And the first time I heard that is that their insurance company needs to see that they've got proper maintenance processes. So I'm not talking about ESG right now, but they needed to see that they were maintaining their
in order to insure them to say, yes, okay, we will run with the risk. I did not know.
Exactly.
That is
so I thought that was a really interesting take on it, and that's why they come to us saying Dynaway and Business Central.
Yes. So from also an insurance perspective, which vertical was the customer in? Was it discrete manufacturing or do you remember?
Food process manufacturing.
Food process and manufacturing. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, lots of packing lanes and lots of production. Yeah.
So there could be other drivers as well to shift from Excel files or the classic whiteboard that we've all seen in plants to assist them. So insurance, obviously ESG reporting, and just to have data as well, right? You cannot make data-driven decisions if you don't have the data, or if the data's on an Excel file being dependent on Brian that has been working 30 years there actually puts the numbers, right? And if Brian is sick or retires, then what happens? Because that's what we've seen a lot as well. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of everything lost when someone retires that's been working there for 30 years and the whole maintenance operation just falls down because it's just one guy holding the key.
Exactly. And you know what happens when somebody handovers an Excel? It's a lot.
Yes.
So if it's a system where you can go and A, just have documentation behind it, B, you can ask Copilot how to do
Copilot. Things. Yes.
So you've got that whole side of it now as well, where you can just easily. It's such, not that you want anybody to get hit by a bus, but if that kind of thing happens now, I think it's a much easier handover.
Completely. Yeah, I agree completely. So, and just, I know we're wrapping up. I want to hear, do you remember when you heard about Dynaway? Like, how did our partnership start?
It actually, so there's two sides to this. So FUJIFILM MicroChannel, before my business was acquired into FUJIFILM, also had a relationship with Dynaway. So I have no idea where that one came from. Sorry.
That was before your time.
Probably should have asked about that before we got on this call.
No, that's fine. I don't know either because I came afterwards, right? We were already. Right. I was in the beginning of our partnership.
That one, so we met at Directions with your predecessor a few times. So we had a friendly relationship there, but at our previous company, it was actually quite hard to sign a agreement. So we sort of held off on that for a while before we were able to. But then we got this great opportunity where, once again, it was somebody coming to us saying, we want Business Central and we need an EAM solution to go alongside of that. So what were the options? It's one of the standalone EAM solutions, or it's something that you don't need to worry about integrating. And not having to worry about integrating is a huge selling point. And so that's where we really started going down that path and working with you guys. And so now we've got quite a few implementations underway.
I was going to say, and we're pretty successful. I think this is one of our most successful partnerships in the sense of how well we collaborate, but as well the amount of opportunities and projects we're actually working on right now, the amount of implementations as well. So it's just really nice to see our key strengths playing really well with each other. Because I think you guys have understood what asset management is, not just Dynaway. Dynaway is just the technology that supports asset management. And then understanding, okay, how can Dynaway help these operations? So you're very good at talking to customers about it. So you have, again, that confidence of when a customer comes and say, I need an EAM solution, you can say, okay, Dynaway, and we know Dynaway so well by now after all the implementations. So that's a key strength from your side. So props, and very thankful that you took so many consultants and people just out there talking about Dynaway with customers and saying,
well,
this will help you.
And I can't let that all those comments go by without also calling out my colleagues. So, like my colleague Lynn, who works in a similar role to me.
Yes.
Awesome at pitching it to customers and also understanding the benefits and where it is the right solution to go in there. So props to Lynn if she watches
Lynn
this.
as well.
I want to get a phone call saying
if you listen, Lynn, props to you as well, because but she also comes with suggestions and questions, and she wants to learn more, and she does some Q&A for us as well. So does that passion in a way to really be there for your customers. That is something that I've seen a lot from Lynn and you and all your colleagues that I've had the pleasure to talking to at Fujifilm with projects.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants to say that they want to do the best for their customers, and I'm sure everybody does. And that's definitely, obviously, that's a driver for us too. Everybody has that drive, but we want to make sure it's the right solution because you want the customer. One of the things my manager says when we're in a pre-sales, when you're in a sales position, he'll say, there are so many Business Central partners out there, and you can change partners like that.
Yes.
So our job is to be so good that you won't ever want to do that. So that's the drive, and that's because there's so many out there, we want to make sure that the people don't even want to think about it.
No, exactly. And I can definitely sense that in the culture that you guys have when talking to projects in that sense, to customers and the passion you put again. I think that it goes down to that you really care, right? Even if you're in a sales position, it's not just sales. You really care to make a difference and to do things right from the beginning. That's something that I've also experienced, to have all your, how do you say, all your eggs counted or your chicken counted before anything. You guys are really good at that work, at having everything clear, everything. Okay, now we're ready to move to the next step. So I'm really looking forward to the next years to come, Nick.
Absolutely.
Probably more ESD, so more of you, more of your expertise being used with customers and also with Dynaway.
It's a big learning curve. There's a lot of learning to come.
For
but
everyone.
It's exciting because, what are you doing if you're not learning? Nothing.
Exactly. What are you doing if you're not learning? What a wonderful sentence to end the podcast. So thank you so much again for your time, for your expertise, and for doing this with us. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.